Right, we are live, and this is the last Entreprogrammers of the year.
I guess that's true, huh? Next
Yeah.
Friday is next year.
It is even the last one of the decade.
Yeah.
We've been doing this since May 2014. So long time. Yeah.
I think I joined sometime in 2015. So
Yeah.
Crazy. It has been the most Chuck, you're a racist year I've ever had.
Exactly. Have things died down now?
Mostly, I'm still dealing with. I have this thing pop up or that thing pop up.
Yeah.
The most recent thing that I had pop up is one of the shows that we had. They decided to go off on their own and do a show.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so I got an email because I'm on the mailing list for their group. And it's, hey, we have our podcast up and we're starting a podcast network. We're going to do a couple more shows starting in February. I was like, oh, they got it up. I'm going to go check it out. So I go check it out. And wow, they already have 20 episodes up. What? Wow, wait a minute. I've listened to these episodes. They are on devchat.tv.
They stole your episodes?
Yeah. So I emailed him and he's like, well, because we talked over lunch when we split.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you said that, that we could use them with attribution. And I've had other people ask me in the past, can we post your episode on our website? And I usually tell them it's okay as long as they give us, solid attribution.
Right.
And so I may have said something to him like that. I don't remember specifically giving him permission to take the episodes. I figured that he would just, hey, we did these 16 episodes or 17 episodes, whatever, right? We did these 17 episodes. Go check them out over here. And that was the kind of attribution I was thinking. But yeah, they lifted the show notes. They edited the audio and put in, this episode was originally recorded for DevChat TV at the very front. And that was the only attribution we got, was just there in the audio. And so I emailed him back and I said, no, this isn't okay.
Yeah.
And, and so he's like, well, you said we could do it with attribution. I said, okay, here's what attribution means. I said, one, on your website, on the episodes that were recorded for us, it has our podcast artwork, not yours. You will have a large, header link at the beginning of every episode recorded for us saying you can get the original show notes and everything else over here. I said, if you embed audio, you embed it off of our servers and not yours. Right. So you're embedding our original stuff, not a modified version that says this was originally right. And you're going to leave all the sponsorship messages and everything else in. Right. And so I basically just spelled it all out. And then I was like, in the RSS feed, I said, the link to the show notes has to be to our website, not yours. And the media file in the enclosure has to be ours and not yours. And if you want show notes, I said, you got to write them yourself. But they have to go below that big giant link that says, here's where the original episode was.
Yeah. Now that's funny. Did he respond yet or no?
Yeah, he responded and said that he'd do it. So
okay. Well.
No, I mean, I was mostly worried that he was going to be ticked off at me, and then we'd have another, because I don't want to fight with anybody. He and I have been friends for years and years and years, and I don't want to fight with him. I want to be friends, and but I have to protect the content too. So
yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so I got really specific, and they're gonna make those changes. So
okay, well,
all good. Yeah, but yeah, that was about the craziest / scariest thing that happened, and it was mostly I just didn't want to have a fight with anybody, and I didn't want to blow up a friendship or two over it, but it turned out that wasn't an issue. And honestly, I didn't know how he was going to come down either, and that you just it's hard. Like, I have some friends where I am pretty sure that I could come to him with something like that, and and it'd be fine, and I was reasonably sure, but not 100% sure that that's where he would come down. And so that other 20 or 30% made me a little nervous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like I mean, they think they're going to start a podcast network and all this, but let's see what actually happens, because it's not quite as easy as what they might think it is to produce a podcast network.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what they're doing is completely different from podcast network. The only thing that it has to do with what they're doing is that they find ads for open source websites and programming websites. And now they'll have programming podcasts to add to the offering. But I mean, the rest of it's all real work. So
yeah.
Anyway, so that's been interesting. I was going to record my audiobook on Monday, but I have had this cold all week. You could probably still hear it in my voice.
Yeah.
And I'm not recording an audiobook like this, so it's probably going to have to happen next week, probably later in the week.
Yeah.
So I have been working on Podwrench is basically ready to have a beta. And so I've been just going through all the functionality and getting my developer dude on those issues so that we can do an open beta. But right now I'm just getting it to the point where I can move my shows over to it, and we're pretty darn close.
Yep.
But yeah, once the new year hits, I'm going to start hitting the sales again. So I figure I've got a couple of days of, like today and maybe Monday, unless this clears up and I can do the audiobook, to kind of get that to that point. But I've also got to move my website off of Netlify because they changed their billing model, and now it's going to cost me like 4 times as much to host there. So I got to move that off today too. But yeah, once we have that all done, I'm going to spend most of my time doing sales and the rest of my time doing the manual for my team. Yeah, and just making sure that that's solid. I mean, those are the 2 biggies. I mean, some of the manual stuff will, change and get modified as we get Podwrench into the mix. And that's something that I'll be working on off and on through the whole process. But for the most part, if we can get the rest of it done, and some of it, like, here's how you write show notes, that's not going to change whether it's in Podwrench or something else.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So, yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking at. And I'm hoping that, or the plan is anyway, is, over the next 3 months, I will have, sponsorships booked out 3 months in advance. I'll have the process nailed down for everything we're doing here. And we'll have Podwrench out there that people can start using to build their own podcasts. And then we'll kind of see.
I'm not sure why are you trying to put this wrench of Podwrench into the whole thing?
Mostly because there are some things in there that are going to streamline some of these processes. It'll actually wind up saving me a bunch of work and money in the long run.
Yeah, which is okay for you internally, but if you're starting like all over where you're okay, well, let me now make this business. Now you're creating another level of complexity.
I agree. I'm not as dedicated to the beta launch as I am to just getting all of our shows on it and working. Because until we do that and have it solid, I don't feel like we really can do a beta launch. And so once it starts actually saving us the time, effort, and money that we're talking about here, then I might have a little extra time to put into doing a beta. But I'm not going to make that call until I'm confident that we can do a good job of it. So yeah, that may be next or second quarter this year. We're just going to have to play that one by ear. But yeah, getting our shows moved over to it and having it manage all those processes is going to be a big thing, and it's going to save us a ton of trouble and effort.
Like, what's the biggest thing that's going to be saved as a result of it?
So there are a few things that it's going to do. One is that it's going to streamline some of the process just by streamlining the communication. So instead of the editor having to, the way we do it now is we kind of have we've been using Notion, but I want to move off of Notion because it doesn't have APIs and it's hard to manage with any kind of automation. But yeah, so they'll mark something as ready for show notes, but the show notes folks, for example, don't know that it's ready until they go and look because it doesn't have any kind of notification for them. So it manages.
You could use Asana for that, right? Asana or Trello?
Yeah, I could use Asana or Trello, but if I'm going to move over to those, I may as well move it into Podwrench because it's basically done. The other thing is that all of the sponsorship management is kind of ad hoc right now, and it would give a ton of structure to that, and that would save me a lot of time. And then we're working on making it easier to add it to the website and the RSS feed. We'd streamline that process because currently they have to go and log into each system and put them in. And once we have Podwrench working, they'll be able to go in and put it in once, and it'll put it on the website and on the RSS feed. So, yeah, we've kind of got a few of those things going, and it'll make it a lot easier to just manage that stuff. The other thing is that a lot of the notes that the show notes writers get, they don't always check the chat log from the call, and that's where links to all of the stuff we talk about is. And so if we have it all in this tool where they're actually writing the show notes, then it'll be right there for them to just drop in, and our show notes will get better. But they also won't have to go look in a couple of places because, you know, we can add to those links whenever we're done with the episode and things like that. So yeah, so that's those kinds of things that I'm looking at. The biggie is the sponsorship management, but the other ones with the show notes publishing and get a lot of traction out of that too. So yeah.
Cool. Oh gosh, man, I've been trying to figure out what's happening with the affiliate stuff for Simple Programmer. It looks like a lot of times the wrong link is getting put in there, which is not good. Like the not the referral link, so it's not tracking the stuff.
Yeah, sometimes you can go fight for the attributions on that, but it doesn't always work. It's easier if you just have the right link in there in the first place.
Yeah.
Why is that happening?
Because I think Fritz is putting in the wrong link. I don't think he understands how this works. Double checking, but.
So do you need to train him better?
Maybe he should know this. Let's see what these are pointing to. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
I mean, this is.
Yeah, it looks like the first email is the only one that tracked, and then the second email is not actually tracking. Even though it's using a link from Simple Programmer, I wonder if it's just not set up correctly. That's annoying. We had the problem with Bluehost already, same exact problem, and I have to get them to manually attribute the links now.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a pain.
Yeah. Well, they don't want to do it either, so.
Yeah. Yep. Shit. The link isn't set up correctly.
What's the problem?
The link isn't set up correctly.
Where?
So simpleprogrammer.com/something, and it doesn't link through your affiliate referral link. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah.
So where is like, what is the source of the error then? Or who is the source of the error?
Fritz.
John's the boss. It's John's fault.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think he's got the shit going to the destination page instead of the actual referral link.
Well, the good thing is you guys have an intermediate link, right? So you can redirect it.
Yeah, you could redirect it without resetting.
Yeah, I can change this now to be.
Yeah. Do you have this process documented somewhere for him?
Well, it's like, I mean, this is pretty basic, like affiliate stuff. Like
that's not what I asked you, John.
It's different for different.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But if you document it out, this is how you get the link, and here's how you create it. then he
Yeah.
doesn't have any excuses to hide behind from here on out.
Well, what I'm saying is it's different for different affiliates, right? So
That's fine.
to know what the link is going to be. But yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, but you could even then have him document how he gets the links, and then you can check it.
Yeah, that's true.
But you either have a training issue or a hiring issue.
Yeah. Well,
and so you either figure out how to train him to do this job, or you find somebody else.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, because you can't keep on screwing up the links.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is for you, because I don't know what your relationship is with him or how quickly he'd pick up the right things. Because finding the right link is you said it's a pretty simple thing. I agree with you, but then it's also a simple thing to train him on. And if he's smart enough
the affiliate
doing it right after that,
the affiliate usually would provide that link.
Yeah.
So I'd be surprised if, like in my case, I would provide the exact link you need to use to send all the traffic to. That's really all there is. There's nothing more than that.
Yeah, but the thing is that the reason you hire somebody like Fritz is because you want him to go get the link and set it up. You don't have to do that step for him.
Well, as an affiliate, I would provide him the link. So Fritz should have the link from the affiliate. And if it's ThriveCards, it's not as simple as just giving them the login for ThriveCard, because there's always stupid things in ThriveCard like links and etc. But
but even still, you can document it, or you can have him document it, and then you can just make sure that he got it right.
Well, it's
that way from there on, it's like, look,
it's simple to say
process to get
you
the
document it, but there's so many affiliate platforms, you'll go crazy trying to document this shit.
Well, yes, you just document it for the ones you're using.
Well, you have to document the process of checking the link to make sure, knowing, like, it's just as simple of saying, are you linking to the landing page? Are you linking to the affiliate tracking page? Because there's a difference, right? It's like the tracking link, because it redirects the landing page. You can't go to where it redirects, and this is but this is some pretty basic shit. This is why I'm not happy right now.
So you've got to make the decision as to whether or not he's worth training on this.
Yeah.
If you train him on this, is he going to get enough of it right to make it worth it? Or are you better off finding somebody else who already gets it?
Yeah.
But that's you and him and what you know about him. I don't know enough about him to tell you whether or not to fire him.
Yeah. No. Well, we'll see. This is costing me quite a bit of money now.
Yeah.
So.
But my deal is that, let's say that, you have a dozen affiliates and they all use different systems. You still need to document where to get that information for all of them. And then there's nowhere to hide if they screw it up, right? It's like, look, I had it all documented out for you. You know where to get the information. You know how to use it, and you're not doing it right. And I spelled it out. So obviously you're not the kind of person that has the kind of attention to detail that I need.
Yeah. I mean, at this role, at this level, like if you're in charge of running the affiliate program, you are the one who should be documenting it for anyone else.
I agree.
So this is a different level than like me having someone do a task. This is me having someone run a program. So
I agree.
But
even then, because eventually, hopefully, what winds up happening is you're bringing in enough money through affiliate income that you're finding new affiliates to go promote. And so they're going to have to hire some help themselves. And when that happens, they need to have it all documented. Or if they walk out the door and a bus hits them, you want to be able to hire somebody else and have them automatically already know where to go to get this stuff.
Right.
But that sucks because, depending on how much traffic you sent through to them, I mean, this could be thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I'm going to try and, I'll have to now track it down with Clever Programmer and Kazi and make sure that they figure out a way to attribute the link, the previous clicks.
Yeah, but you have a good relationship with Kazi, so that shouldn't be terrible. I mean, it's a little embarrassing, but it's not terrible to get done.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem is that it's
that's not fun.
Well, yeah, and do I trust that he's going to actually attribute all the links? I don't know. We'll see.
No, some of them may be hard to attribute to.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely doable, but that's right.
Yeah. Well, affiliate stuff, it's all trust anyway, right?
Because yeah, I mean, we've got a link tracking system through Samcart, though. We can track the clicks. So
yeah,
you can. I mean, it's possible to monkey with it, but it's unlikely.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, for an affiliate, let's say that I think I still have an affiliate account with Pluralsight, for example, right? I mean, I can track how many links went out to that link, but I don't have any information beyond that. And so if they're paying me per click through or they're paying me per purchase, I just have to trust that they're being honest about what actually came through on their end.
Yeah.
So, and I think most companies are. It's a trust relationship anyway. So is he writing the emails for the affiliate stuff too?
Yeah, exactly.
And is he doing a good job on that? Is he worth keeping around for a copywriter and have somebody else do the affiliate stuff?
I wouldn't call what he's writing very much copy, so I'm not sure. So he's sending emails, but they're not really written in as persuasive copy, I would say. So
I know I'm itching to ask some questions, but I guess we'll leave it to.
Go ahead, ask away.
I don't know about
that. You're going to be a little less nice than I am.
No. John may not be able to answer those here.
Yeah, but just like logistically because it's public.
Yeah.
Fair enough, but they are questions that he probably ought to be at least thinking about, right?
He probably knows the answers. These are more like I can ask here. I can ask in the chat.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. We should probably just move on from this topic until I can get this resolved.
There isn't really any value in this discussion, to be fair.
No. I think we've either brought up or John already knew, probably mostly both, whatever he needs to consider to figure out what he's going to do with it.
Yeah. I think it hinges on whether or not we can get this fixed. Because if we can't get this fixed, then that's going to be a significant amount of cash.
Is the sale open today?
It's going to a masterclass page, and then which is a funnel. So, but everything's being tracked through that. So
it's a webinar funnel.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So, I think it should be possible to track the emails that come in through there, or I mean, I can. In
some ways, it's actually a good test for the integrity of your relationship as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if you find that the 100 clicks you sent earlier, none of them converted, while 100 clicks you sent later, 10 of them converted, well, then something is wrong in the attribution and he's not owning up to it. But if he says, oh yeah, man, you got 9 sales from it that you didn't attribute, well, then, that was right.
Yeah.
But you just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this is just like, it's becoming an ongoing issue now, like where it's like, I need proper communication with affiliates and everything to be done correctly. Otherwise it's like this shit. Cause every time that I have to waste time doing this or dealing with people who are trying to do affiliate promotions with us, instead of it going through my man, it becomes, it's like, why am I paying someone to do this? So
yeah, if I were you too, I'd just have a conversation with Fritz and see what's going on there.
Yep.
And that way you can figure out, where the breakdown is in his understanding, and then you can decide how to address it.
Yep.
Okay, lessons learned 2019.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. Lessons learned 2019.
Oh yeah, that's what we were going to do this year.
This year?
Or this episode.
That's right. All right, who's starting? Well, we can all go round.
Yeah.
And round and round and round and rounds. I'll start with mine. Focus or lack of focus, or lack of sticking to the guns. I would say sticking to doing the simple things and not worrying about doing too many things. Because I was just taking stock of the situation of everything that has happened in the business. Like, given that this is a book summary business, we should be what's going on here?
Yep.
We should be doing a lot more book summaries, like creating a lot more book summaries, not just on YouTube, but also in our membership site. And I was looking at it, and we did a total of 60 book summaries in the membership area, which is probably, like, for an outsider, it might sound, oh, okay, but to me, it's extremely terrible. Like, these 60 book summaries in the membership area, I mean, the business doesn't really have much new stuff to sell.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, where does most of your income come from? Is it the membership area, or is it people buying one-off courses?
It's all courses that we sell, but it's all book summaries that we sell.
I know.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, you know, it sounds like your membership area is a subscription, not a.
No. By membership, I meant like, it's all one a la carte. It's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So if your income's coming from courses, yeah, you need to create more courses to sell to the people who will buy them.
Right. So the lack of focus, what I was looking at was the fact that if I just commit to doing more book summaries, then there are a lot of other things that will get deprioritized. But really, that should have been the case. Like, just do more book summaries rather than invest effort in other things that take up energy but are not long-term conducive to the value of the business. So 60 book summaries is a very low number. Like, that's terrible, in my opinion, for my business to produce just 60 book summaries. These are external. These are like summaries that we sell. Of course, we did on YouTube and podcasts and blog and all those things. But stuff that we sell, just 60, not good. Should have been at least 100 or more. And that's all I can attribute all of that to lack of focus in the business.
Yeah. I want to talk about this for a minute, though, in the sense that, you know, I'm in the same boat. More podcasts, right? Equals more money. But there are some things that I have to do that keep me from having the time or ability to focus on the things that are going to move us ahead. So how do you balance that out versus the stuff that you don't have to do that you can just cut off, right?
I think it's the 80-20 where you literally do, like, you cut out, or I am thinking right now, I don't have the answers, but as I've been analyzing, and this is something that I've been thinking about for the last couple of weeks, is that constant decision switching, or what I would call context switching or decision making, is the enemy.
Yeah.
You call it constantly trying to evaluate what to do next, constantly making new decisions about what this week should be about, or what this month should be about, or what this quarter should be about, or constantly making new decisions about what you should do today, right? All of that switch, like, I think we spend more energy making decisions. The more complexity we create in the business, the more things we create in the business to do, the more we end up having decisions.
Yeah.
And the more, the lower the quality of those decisions becomes, because we're constantly creating overheads. I think decision making is a
the way I think about it is that my brain starts working on one problem, and then if I make a decision and switch, then I've had to switch into decision-making mode and then back out into the mode that I have to be in for the other thing. And part of my brain is still realigning, and so it's working on the old problem and then the decision-making problem, and I lose momentum to it.
Yeah, the context switching thing is real here, right? Every time you're switching from one job to another, even if it is job A to decision-making to job B, I think there's also an overall cost of making too many decisions.
Yeah.
Overall cost of changing alignment every few days, or changing alignment every few hours, or changing alignment every few, weeks. The focus thing, in some ways, has to line up with making fewer decisions in my business. In the sense, if I make a decision that this is what I will accomplish this week, nothing changes. Like I don't mess around with it midweek or midday or anything like that, and not even for the week. I think the bigger the time frame becomes of how much you can rely on your initial how much can you rely on your initial decisions that you've made, or how much can you rely on your own word? That's what I'm kind of trying to get to. Like if I say this week I will do this, but then at the end of the week I look and I did 5 other things and this thing as well, and I only did 30% of this thing, and I did 5 other things because I thought they were important, I'm already losing the battle.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So the challenge is to say, this is the decision, this is the focus for the week and does not change. This is the focus for the month and it does not change. This is the focus for the quarter and does not change. The larger the time frame I can have for my decisions, the more effective those decisions are. The smaller the time frame of those decisions, the less useful the decisions are.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah, you'll be much more effective if you set a course and then follow that course than if you constantly change the course, right? It's all wasted time, just like looking at analytics is wasted time. Any information that you gain that does not actually lead to an important decision is a waste. Any decisions that you make that do not actually lead to an effective outcome is a waste. So that's a lot of time looking at data and making decisions that don't need to be made.
Well, that's where I like the 12-week year, right? Is because you make that decision up front. And unless something derails, like the whole Twitter thing that happened this last quarter, right? That derailed it. But for the most part, if things go anywhere close to what you would expect, you just stick to your plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the challenge as I'm thinking and as I'm talking about it is, the challenge is to minimize decisions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you make them all up front.
You make them all up front.
Then you plan your week and you make them all up front. And then when you get to the day, you know what you're doing.
You're not allowed. Yeah. Even the week, like that's what I'm saying. The bigger the time frame of decisions, the more effective your decisions. The fewer the number of decisions, the more effective your decisions.
Yeah. But even at the weekly level, what I'm talking about is not, what do I work on this week? I've already decided that at the beginning of the quarter. All I'm deciding is I'm going to spend this day on this and that day on that and that day on that. That's 3 relatively easy decisions to make.
Right. Even better is meta level decisions, which I call rules, right? So if you make rules for yourself, then those are like meta decisions because they guide you beyond just a simple decision, right? So that's why like I have rules for eating once a day, or I have a rule for making 4 YouTube videos a week and a rule for posting the Instagram posts every single week. And so at the beginning of the week, I don't decide, should I make YouTube videos or should I make Instagram posts or what should my diet be this week? It's already decided by a rule ahead of time. and it is the more things that you have that are rules, the more narrow, like the less decisions you have to make overall.
Yeah.
So if you can codify something as a rule, that's the highest level of leverage that you can
yes
have.
And no, because I mean, when I was training for the marathon, right, I had a rule that I was going to go do my run that day, but sometimes I had to squeeze it in the middle of the night, and if I'd spend 2 seconds making a decision to get it done at a different time during the day, my day would have been better.
If you made decision instead of, I mean, if you have it scheduled as a rule on your calendar,
if I have it scheduled as a rule, then that's a different story.
I mean, okay, so I can attest to the power of rule in a very different framework, which is being a vegetarian, right?
Yeah, that's ingrained.
That's a rule.
Yeah.
Right? That's a rule as much as it is a decision, but I never have to make that decision.
Yeah, it's one you don't have to think about.
Almost like there's nothing that can change it. So there's no like re-decision making every single time. Compared that to someone who's like on the edge of like, oh, I want to eat healthier, I should eat more veggies and things like that, but they're constantly struggling with, oh, today I just want to have a little more cheese or meat or whatever. They're going to find themselves in a lot more trouble than when the rule is that I'm vegetarian. Now, no matter what the situation, even if I have to starve, I'm not eating that meat. So like, it's really that simple.
I have some religious prescriptions that are kind of the same way. The difference there is, I guess you could call it a rule, but for those, they're almost part of my identity. And so even if I'm dying of thirst, if you put something alcoholic in front of me, I'm still going to die of thirst because I'm not going to drink it, right?
That's what you say right now.
But it's at the level of, this is who I am. I'm a person that doesn't drink, or I'm a vegetarian, as opposed to it's a rule that I follow, which I guess it is too. But the level of conviction is almost to the point where this is who I am, and so I'm not going to do it because that's not who I am.
Well, the highest level of rule is an identity.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going from identity to rule to decision.
Yeah.
But the highest level of rule is the identity that Arnold Schwarzenegger had, where he said, I am Mr. Olympia. I am the winner. I am going to be Mr. Universe. Like, that's my identity. That's what I live for. That's why I die for. And that makes all his decision making like really simple, because he doesn't really have to overthink. Like, I work out 5 hours a day because that's what Mr. Olympia does.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the difference.
Right. So going back to this whole process, then the key in many ways is to have very few objectives. Right. So few objectives. Few objectives. The fewer the number of goals, the more focused you can be.
Yeah.
Like last year, this year, I had a lot of different goals that I quote unquote would call goals, which were all not goals, but just distractions in many ways. Instead of saying, this is what we're going to do, and we're sticking to the guns for the next quarter, rather than changing it every freaking week or month, or testing new things to do every freaking week or month. So to your point, Chuck, of the supporting things, I think now I'm thinking like out loud here, and I might be wrong. If there was only one metric you had, or if I only had one metric to track, then everything would fall in place to support that one metric.
Right.
But if I had 5 metrics, I'll find myself in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. If the clear stated goal of the business is to produce more book summaries, or to be precisely produce 20 book summaries a month that are sellable book summaries, that's very different from a metric that says XYZ revenue, or a metric that is about launching a certain course by a certain time.
Yeah, but I think the difference between like XYZ revenue versus a certain number of book summaries is that one can be kind of a target out there that you're trying to reach. that sort of defines success, and the other one is a tactic that you're going to follow, right? So you break that. I'm going to do 60 book summaries or 100 book summaries this year. That breaks down to 2 book summaries a week, right? And so, there's a clear success criteria to that one, but then you can measure it against the other one. Is revenue ticking up fast enough, per book summary to make it so that when I get the 100th one done or the 70th one done, which is going to have, so many weeks before the end of the year to help me reach my revenue goals.
Yeah. The challenge sometimes in a business, in the stages sometimes that we are, is that they are not as deterministic as you would like them to be.
Yeah.
These things, right? You cannot deterministically state that a book summary is going to bring in this much revenue every single time. Yes, there's a loose connection there, and it is there. Like, I know how much any of our new packages will bring in usually, but that hopefully the number keeps going up over time. But there is also the network effect of what happens as you add more and more and more, which is unattributed right now, right?
Right.
So the way I look at it is you have an aspiration, right? The aspiration might be the revenue number.
Yeah.
It's not an actual goal, because a goal has to be something that is in direct control of yourself, right? Yeah. So the aspiration is what you use to guide you in the direction. Maybe your aspiration is $1 million of revenue a year. So that's the direction that you turn. The goal is something that is likely to lead to the aspiration. So maybe it's making the book summaries, because you can say I can make 60 book summaries. That's in your direct control. And then the key to making the goal link up with the aspiration is you're going to use all the information you have to make a best educated guess of what it will take in order to reach that aspiration. What goal can you set? And then you're going to 10x it. Right. That's where the 10x rule comes into play. And maybe it's not 10x, maybe it's 2x or 3x. But in that book, Grant Cardone, the best point that he made in the 10x rule was the idea that whatever you think it takes, assume it's going to take a lot more. And that's the key, is like you have this aspiration. You say, let's say I want to make $1 million of revenue. So then you come up with a goal, say, well, if I produce X number of book summaries, I think that will achieve $1 million worth of revenue. And then you double that or triple that. And then you do that. And then that almost guarantees that you're going to hit the aspiration, right? That's like the best bridge that you can create. It's still not directly in your control, but you put it to the point where, if you're at all correct, you're in the directional, the direction of that goal, then it should become pretty damn close to hitting that aspiration. And that's, I think that's the everything else is just bullshit. Like if you're saying, oh, I'm going to hit this revenue target, or it's just bullshit. It's just, it's either luck or, you have to have something solid that you can actually control.
I agree. My point is
more variability.
My point is that if you have that aspirational goal out there, let's say that it is a revenue number, right? Mm-hmm. And you're doing 2 book summaries a week, and you realize I'm not going to hit that goal, then you can put in the extra time and do 3 or 4, right? And so that's a decision that's not a major decision that you have to agonize over. I'm not going to hit it. I'm going to do more. And, and then you can kind of ramp from there. And so then you can make your tactic or your actual goal different, but not so different that you actually have to sit down and really mull it over and make sure that you're doing what it's going to take to get you there. But I like the aspirational goals, because then it's okay, what is it going to take? And every few weeks I'm going to actually evaluate, is this getting me where I need to? Nope. Okay, then I need to push harder, or I need to add something else to this, and allow me to kind of straighten the course of the ship out so that I can hit that goal. Because I hate making the aspirational goals and then kind of throwing my hands up and saying, oh, well, halfway there is okay. If I'm going to make that goal, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. Yeah. Even if it's not in my direct control, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like if it's not in your direct control, there's not much that you can do. Otherwise, you're kind of just throwing a dart at
I know,
the wall,
but what I'm saying is that if I want to put a goal out there that I'm going to have to push for, right? So it's, it's not going to be the natural growth of my company. It's going to be the natural growth of my company plus however much more, right? But then it's, okay. So what do I have to do to get there? Well, I've got to find more hosts for these shows that I want to start. I've got to do the work that it's going to take to get these shows, do the social media posts that, but then if it's not working, then I need at some point, even though I've already made the decision those are the tactical goals I'm going to follow. I've got to make a decision that, okay, we're going to post twice as often to social media, or we're going to launch this podcast sooner, or things like that. You still have to go back around, but I'm going to be doing those things because I want to reach the aspirational goal, even though I can't specifically go and put dollars in my bank account for myself because I don't have that level of control. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what you start with that, and then you come up with your goals based on that, what's most likely to hit that aspiration. But that's the max that you can control. But the thing is, you have to disconnect the two once you've made the plan. And I think that kind of circles back to what Manny was saying from the lesson learned, which is that you have this aspiration. From that, you come up with a plan to hit it. That's your goal. And then the rest of the time you focus on the goal. You don't focus on how close it's getting you to the aspiration. You just say, I made the plan. I'm going to follow through with the plan. Because the problem is that most of these things, like a lot of the ways that the goals actually become, realize the aspiration is through an exponential curve.
Yes.
And what happens is we start on it and we're like, let's say that, in Manny's case, let's say he's got some revenue aspiration. And so he says, okay, well, I need to do so many book summaries. And then he says, I'm going to do 100 book summaries. And then he does like 25 of them and he doesn't see the revenue go up at all. Then he quits and says, I need a different plan. Whereas where you really start to see the hockey stick growth is at 75. And so that's why it's so important that you just make your best guess. And then you create the goal and then you just stick to the fucking goal. And then no matter what, you finish that out. And then even if you're wrong, then you can at least evaluate it by saying, okay, well, this is what I predicted. This is what I did. I executed properly, but my prediction was wrong because I did the 100, like I said, and I didn't get the result. So then you can modify it. But if you go partially into it and then you change the plan, you never know what actually works and what doesn't work. So
yeah, I think a lot of businesses faith that what you like, it's faith and testing, right? So from your testing, you're developing more faith. And once you are developing that faith, you now put more faith into that thing, saying, okay, my testing has revealed so much so far. So now if I double, triple, quadruple down on this thing, I believe that this can take off exponentially rather than still stay linear. And I think that's the belief doesn't necessarily mean it will happen, but you have to give yourself the chance to go exponential rather than be stuck not knowing what, rather than challenging it every single time, you don't hit any kind of exponential growth.
Yep.
Okay, who wants to talk about their lesson? I mean, there's so many different ideas, but
the biggest one I think I'll bring up is just the power of leveraging people, right? That was a huge one, like that investment, because as I have hired now a copywriter and I've got my team and invested into that, I've realized that it has greatly increased my reach of what I can accomplish in a given time frame, because now I can basically say this, I can have the vision of the project that needs to be done, and then I can hand it off and someone else can do it, and then I can move on to the next vision. And so I don't know, to me that's the biggest thing that produced the most growth for me this year, especially with Bulldog Mindset. Like I wouldn't have been able to do even half of the things that I've been able to do had I not invested in the staff. And so just the leverage of people is critical. That's how you actually grow. That's the only way that you actually really grow as a business, is you have to leverage. If you don't do that, you will only be able to grow as much as your max capacity output, which isn't much.
It's not much at all.
Yeah. One other thing I just want to add to that, though, is that hiring or finding the right people who will leverage that kind of momentum in your business is really freaking hard.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's going to be pain. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'll just hire somebody to do this. And I say that all the time on the show, I swear. Oh, I'll just hire somebody to take care of this part of the sales or something. But just hire is a process that sucks.
Yep.
And if you have good people and they can refer you good people, it gets easier, but it still sucks. And you still have to do the legwork to make sure that you're hiring the right person. So, yeah, it's a process. And the other thing is that the more people you add to your business, because I'm finding this, I have, 4 or 5 people doing show notes, 2 editors, 1 production manager, and a social media manager. And, the communication sometimes is tough because now you don't always know who saw everything that went by in the Slack channel or the Discord group or whatever.
Right.
So, it brings with it its own set of challenges as well. And the bigger you grow, the more those issues become issues. But the flip side is that, there's no way I can do it all by myself. So, it's a balancing act, and you wind up solving other problems that you didn't have before.
Yep.
It's part of the process. Yeah. There's I think hiring is one of those, almost everything in business, like the higher the leverage becomes, the more challenging the task gets. And hiring is one of those tasks. It is high leverage, but at the same time, it's one of the most challenging things.
Yeah.
Also one of the most painful things. But again, the business, I've been saying this for a while now, the business that can afford to hire the most smart people will always win. So you cannot just compete. When you are one guy and you have on the other side you have 20 people.
Yeah,
you are nothing. There's no way you compete with that shit.
Yeah.
You're gonna get wiped.
Yeah.
So that's for real.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Chuck, what you got? Well, there's more lessons, I'm sure, but let's do round 1 of the lessons.
So I kind of have, I'm trying to decide which one to pick, because for one thing that I learned is that there are a lot of things going on out there that you're not going to know or understand until they bite you in the rear end. Mm-hmm. We kind of saw that with the Twitter situation. And then again, with all the people who were out there, who left shows or, whatever, that were out there talking to other people, and I have no control or even knowledge of some of it. And so there's only so much you can do about it. The other lesson, I think the big lesson was just, kind of being ready for these setbacks, whatever they are. And so either knowing what you're going to do, because if I have another Twitter blow up now, I'm actually working on a process for myself on how I deal with it. Right. So just having a plan ahead. And the same thing with with kind of the sponsorship slowdown that we ran into the last couple months of this year, right, is having money in the bank. So just being prepared for what you can prepare for, so that you don't have to work out of a place of, oh crap.
Yeah.
And so those are kind of the 2 biggies for me. And I guess the other thing related to a lot of this is don't get comfortable, right? Because that's ultimately where a lot of the problems with both of those situations came from. So I don't know which one of those you want to poke at, but those are kind of the biggies for me this year.
So talking about the idea of preparing for, or the fact that, yes, there are going to be inevitable challenges. What's the lesson here? What's the thing you want to improve on next year or for the decade?
Well, the money one is kind of the most obvious one, right? And that's just having extra money in the bank.
How much extra money?
So ultimately, I'd like to have an emergency fund of like 3 months at the very least. Okay. I know about what my budget is, so I know where that money, where that number kind of gets to. It's somewhere in the range of like $70,000 to $100,000. Depending on how I work my budget out, which is something that I'm going to be doing here soon. I'm going to be reworking the budget, but just knowing what that is, that's kind of an easy one. But then, if I come under attack on Twitter, I'm going to have a plan, and then I don't have to make the decisions, right? I don't have to have that scary feeling in my gut and then start going, am I going to screw this up? No, I went through this last time. I made these decisions when I had a clear head and I wasn't freaking out about any of it.
Yeah.
right? And so, the situation may be different enough to where I have to make a couple of calls, but most of the calls are going to be made for me.
Well, the problem with business in many ways is that you don't know what challenges you will run into.
Yes.
At any given time, so it's hard to prepare.
Yes, but I can guess at a lot of them, and I can be ready for those. That's my point.
Well, is that really that useful for you? Because if you're guessing what kind of challenges you'll come, or maybe better off just having that budget and not
maybe
guessing over the specifics of what kind of challenges, because we just don't know. We just have to when it shows up is when we have to improvise. Like nobody could have, if in the beginning of the year I asked you, Chuck, do you think you could have a Twitter blowout like this? Or if I had asked you the 10 biggest possible events that could happen, negative events that could happen in your business, could you even have named this event?
I probably would have named something to the effect of having a panel's worth of show host leave, because I've been through that before. But that's the kicker, right? Is that it's, it's stuff that I've already been through, right? That I know I could go through again. And for the most part, I guess that's the other thing, is by having all these processes in place. Yeah, let's say that I have another Twitter blow up in June, right? And I have a bunch more hosts leave. Not necessarily having like a master plan for when that happens, but having the process in place for here's how we find hosts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of more on the level of what I'm talking about, right? Is, here's how I communicate on social media. Here's how I deal with these things, right? And so then if I just stick to my system, then for the most part, I already know what I'm doing. And it's back to your idea of not making decisions. But the flip side is then if things are scary or stressful or anything else, I have a process to follow anyway.
Yes. Well, I think there are two separate process conditions.
But yeah, having a contingency plan for everything doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah, you cannot do that. So what I'm actually saying is a meta process for thinking is separate from a specific process for every specific contingency. A meta process for when these inevitable challenges happen, this is how I handle life's challenges, XYZ. This is how I think. This is the stoic way of approaching challenges or something like that. And this is my war chest of money. So I use these to, but that's
the thing
all
too.
You can really plan for.
With most of these, for example, right now, if I'd had 3 or 4 months worth of money in the bank, I could have just coasted through this, right?
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been as stressful or whatever, because, at the end of the day, I could have just been like, well, it has 3 or 4 months to blow over, or I have 3 or 4 months to find people who don't care about this garbage, right? And so it would have been a different thing. And that offsets a lot of this.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, I think, is having the cash on hand, because that buys you time and time. And I've had multiple revenue sources change and drop off completely, but because I've had the cash to be able to sustain, I've been able to bring up a new revenue source in that time frame, which balance it out. So yeah, because if you run out of cash, then you shut down, and then that's the most. And really, what it puts you in is what I call a squeeze situation, right? So, classic example of this is that suppose that you've got to fly somewhere immediately, and you just found out that you need to go travel somewhere. Well, the plane tickets, let's say you have to get a plane ticket for today, it's going to be extremely expensive, maybe 5 times what you would pay if you had planned in advance. So you have all those kind of squeeze situations in life where, because you're strapped for cash, you end up paying more, or you end up doing a suboptimal choice.
I'll give an example of that, because things got a little bit tight in June. Not like that now, but it got a little bit tight, and I had made a whole bunch of commitments to people that I would be at Velocity in San Jose.
Yeah.
And so what did I do? I got in my truck the day before the conference, and I drove to San Jose from Salt Lake City, and it took me all day.
Right.
And that's kind of a suboptimal way to go. I still had to pay for gas and whatever else. And the AC in my truck wasn't working, so that was fun. And I got the cheapest motel I could find out in San Jose that was reasonably close to the place. So, I saved a bunch of money, but it cost me a ton of time.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, if you have that money in the bank and you make those commitments, then you can pay for them. And then you can say, okay, we're low on the emergency fund now. And so you say no to the next thing until you can build it back up.
Yep.
And it gives you the flexibility to do it the way that makes the most sense.
Yeah. Okay, round 2. The second lesson was along the lines of consistency of everything in the business, whether it is frequency, whether it's consistency of product line, whether it's consistency of the way things get done, all of those things. The more consistent they are, the less decisions they require, and the more people believe in you.
Well, that's back to the thing we were saying before, because if it's ingrained, you become more consistent, it becomes more ingrained. You don't have to think about it as much, and it saves you on those decisions.
Yeah. And I feel like consistency, focus, and the other thing I've been thinking about is simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, I can say focus and simplicity are sister topics in many ways, because if you're very focused, your life will become simple, or your product line will become simple, or your business will become simple. But literally, like, simplifying everything is a huge part of the game.
Yeah.
Rather than complex funnels and complex email marketing systems and complex product lines and all of those things. Like simplifying everything, simplifying even the marketing process down to this is the only way we do it, and there's nothing more we do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and even in the complexity, right? Because I've seen some people that have some pretty complex marketing or, fulfillment pipelines that that are profitable and that work, but it's all one simple system. And then you have another simple system that, adds into it in some way. And so if you tease it apart, it comes down to the same kinds of ideas. It's just layered in, as opposed to, oh, we need this, we're going to hodgepodge the whole crap thing together. And then you simplify it by simplifying people's roles, right? So you have a complicated system, but because you have people whose role is simple, they handle this simple process. And by virtue of that, the exceptions that you have to build the complexity in to handle get handled by them in a simple way.
Okay. So I'm with you, except that there are certain things. We're talking simplicity at a meta level, right?
Yes.
If you compare Apple to any other company, any other computer maker in the world, right? There's Apple product line. There's the MacBook Pro, the MacBook Air, and that's it. There's not really much you can't really find any more product lines in their
that's true.
simplicity, in their simple universe of computers. While if you go to Dell, there's probably 100 different computers you can buy.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Lenovo, there's 100 computers you can buy. You go to HP, there's 100 different kinds of computers they can buy. And what happens as a result of that is that none of those are finely machined systems. None of those are the best of the best of the best products, because they're just like effort of the company goes into this, and the effort of company goes into that, and the effort of company goes into this, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that. So none of them are standout products. They're all mediocre products at best.
Yep.
So the simplicity makes it stand out in some ways. Simplicity makes it the reason why people wait for a MacBook Pro for the next release for years and years, or for months and months, and because they know exactly there's only one product that Apple is working on.
Yeah.
Not like 25 products, in which case they get confused.
Right.
And none of them are that high a quality level. Bar is lower when you have 25 products to produce.
Yep.
So a large portion of my work, I guess, is in simplifying everything this year in this business, which means going back to just the book summaries and just more book summaries. And there's nothing more we do other than the book summaries part of the business. No new products or anything like that, but book summaries and book summaries and book summaries. And not only that, like, it's like simplifying, streamlining, all of that is kind of coming together. Like one simple kind of funnel that does everything, right? From the time a person walks into the door to the time the person buys or does not buy, is the same consistent experience for all the book summary, all the different book summaries that we have, until I move to a membership model, in which case everything changes again, but it'll be even more simpler.
Yeah. And simplification also removes decisions, right? That's one of the key things that it does, because when you have a simple process, then you don't have to decide what to do here and understand all these things. The decisions are pretty straightforward, right? Like I benefited a lot with, again, with Bulldog Mindset. This was really the first year of Bulldog Mindset and launching the membership. It's a simple funnel. There's only one opt-in. There's not multiple. You can only get in through the quiz. And then from there, there's a sequence, and that's it. And that's been so easy. Anytime I'm on a podcast, I know exactly what to say. Just go and take the quiz, right? That's the thing that I push. It's the thing I push in every video. It's simple, right? I don't have to decide what am I going to do? What's my strategy for marketing this way or this time? Or even with Simple Programmer, like with the Plinko machine that Josh came up with, it was good, except that it was complex, and now to the point where we don't understand exactly what's going on. Like it's too complicated to make decisions about that system. So having something simple, even though it might not be optimal at first, is better, because plus you can tweak it in the long run, right? Like if you have a simple process, you can make small changes to the process and you can see the results. If you have a complicated process, everything is multivariate. And so you don't know what changes actually, what the outcome, right? The simple equation says, okay, when I change X, Z changes, right? But if it's a multivariate equation, then it's like, okay, when I change X and I change Y and I change Z, then this is the result, and you don't know what actually gives you a result.
Yeah, I want to harp on the process thing again, though, right? Because if you have a Plinko machine and then you have a simple enough process for whatever you want to have happen that can walk somebody through it without them having to understand the entire Plinko machine, that also is simplicity, right? As long as you have somebody else who's around who can understand the Plinko machine. And so you can simplify things in different ways.
It's a level of abstraction.
Yeah. So sometimes it's abstraction, and sometimes it's the system really is just that simple.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So that is fair. The question then becomes, if it is possible to simplify the system, you must not complicate it.
Yes.
Right.
That is definitely a good rule to follow.
So yes, there will be complex systems. Building a computer is a very complex system. That doesn't mean that you complicate everything and make it overly more complicated than it needs to be. And I think a lot of times the simplicity is available to us, but we choose to over engineer something and lose the benefits of simplicity.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, what's your next lesson, Chuck or John? Or next improvement next year, or whichever one you want to go with.
I mean, honestly, for me, the next improvement is just making sure that all the processes are there and easy to follow, right? So it kind of follows onto your simplicity idea. Everybody knows what to do and how to do it. And everybody feels like, and this is the other angle that I'm kind of trying to grow more in my business, is allowing the people who run the processes to improve the processes, right? hey, it'd be a whole lot easier if we could just do this. It would be a whole lot easier if we could just think about it this way. It would be a whole lot easier if we could just do this or that or the other, right? And so one of the things, because my sister is one of our show notes writers, and so we chat about work sometimes, and she's told me a couple of times it'd be a lot easier if we only had to enter the show notes in one place, right? It'd be a whole lot easier if we only had to put this stuff in. That's where Podwrench is going to, come into the picture. So at least for them. And so by having, those conversations and making it easy for them to give that kind of feedback, then we can turn around and start making those kinds of improvements. And for them, it's simplifying what they're doing. And for us, it's saving them time and allowing us to ask more of them for the same price. And so it really does just come down to knowing how things are done so that you can improve them.
John?
I think I would say that I'm debating between the two of them, but I guess I'd say like looking at a lesson and one to go for next year is to say no to more things, right? Because I look at my calendar sometimes, I'm like, okay, I have this meeting with this, like a lot of these things are not necessary and they're distracting, and it adds up over time having all these little meetings or little sidetrack things, right? I guess this is kind of related to focus, but just saying flat out no to a majority of things is critical in order to stay on track and to stay focused. Otherwise, all these little tiny things end up adding up and they end up taking up time and energy away from the main thing. It's better to have just one main focus, and then if something's really important, then it's important enough to make it a main focus. So
yeah, one thing I have on this too that I'm wondering a bit about is that sometimes I don't see the direct benefit to something, but by making that connection, it pays off for 6 months down the road.
Yeah.
And so it's something that, by this rule, it sounds like you should say no to, but in reality, you probably ought to say yes to. So how do you evaluate that?
I don't know. I mean, I think like there's a trade-off. There's some things that are good opportunities, but in the long run, like rejecting more opportunities is better because you will stick to your focus more, and that in the long run, that usually pays off more than something that might pan out to be a good opportunity. I mean, there's some opportunities where you absolutely can't say no to, and those are the ones you should pursue, obviously, but there's a lot of maybes that should just be no's.
Yeah. So maybe there's a metric for like what's the dollar amount that opportunity can generate.
Well, one thing I do now, like anytime I get a lot of emails from sponsors or potential sponsors, and I just, before I even get on the phone with them, I say, hey, the minimum that I'll do any kind of sponsorship for is $2,000 a month with a 3-month commitment. So if that's in your budget, let's talk. If it's not, then no hard feelings, but I can't spend my time on anything less than that.
That's fair.
But yeah, I definitely look at my schedule. I'm like, I definitely spend a lot of time looking at things that I didn't need to pursue at all. Would have been better to just cancel them, just move on. Yeah.
No, I hear that. And it kind of spills over into your business too, and to Manny's idea of focus, just in the sense of I spend a lot of time showing up to podcasts that I don't bring a ton to, other than that if I weren't there, it might not happen.
Yeah.
And so I need to get those going that way because, again, it's just that leverage of time and taking away from my focus. It kind of does both. And so there may be things in your business. It's not just appointments, which is the example you gave, but there are other things in your business that you may wind up saying, you know what, this really isn't worthy of my focus, and I either need to find a way to give it to somebody else or to quit doing it altogether.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a different question now. If there was only one thing in your business that is going to move all the needle that you need to move, what is it going to be this year? And what is that one thing you need to actually, in heart of your heart, that is the thing you need to do. And that is all you need to do. If you just did that, you will find a way to make the business work, grow exponential, whatever it is. One thing, not two, not five.
Number of podcast listeners.
I might have a disagreement with that.
Yeah, you might. I mean, the other number is the number of podcast sponsors.
Yeah, not even number. I'm saying what's the one thing to do. Yeah, you're right. Number might be the one thing to do, but number of podcast listeners is not the one thing to do.
No, it's not one thing to do, but you said one metric at the beginning.
Okay, I might have said metric, but I was thinking more like one thing to do.
Yeah, one practice, yeah.
What would it be?
Yeah, then that would be the consistent work to fill the podcast sponsors.
Yeah, if I single-mindedly focused on doing more book summaries, I know that is like, if all I did was adding more book summaries to my membership area, I know this business will double, triple, quadruple, whatever it might happen, but at least double, right? If I just single-mindedly did that and nothing more than that.
Yeah, like everything else here.
I would just let everything die at that point.
If I single-mindedly focused on finding podcast sponsors, I could double my revenue.
Boom. That's it. That's I guess that's the answer right there for you and for me as well.
I don't know if that would take the whole year, right? Because if I get it filled and then I can just, maintain, then it might be a different answer in 4, 5, 6 months, right?
Well, you might be surprised how much things might improve. And not only there is a lot inside of that, right? Just because you tell me that if you single-mindedly focused on our sponsorships, it would double my business, doesn't mean that in 2 months you'll be done with that work.
No. But I won't have to single-mindedly do it, because I'd be single-mindedly trying to fill a handful of spots that are worth $100 or less a month.
Yes and no, because what would happen at the next phase of growth of the business is you would single-mindedly try to improve that process, which is bring in new people to make those sales and get them trained on that process, so that you literally spend $4,000 a month on that person, and he's bringing you $40,000 a month in revenue.
Right, that makes sense, because then I can single-mindedly focus on growth or podcast quality or something like that.
If your business, like the lifeblood of your business is sponsorships, right? Single-minded. I was reading Ready, Fire, Aim again, the book that I was talking to you guys about earlier, Michael Masterson, $0 to $100 million in no time flat, where he talks about the 0 to 1 million phase is all.
I've been trying to remember what that is. I'm just going to buy it on Audible right now.
Ready, Fire, Aim. One marketing simple. He's like, in the first, stage one, it's all about marketing. Like literally having one marketing system that's so finely tuned and machined that you just sell the fuck out of it. That's all you do. You sell more. And then in the later stages, you can worry about other things. But literally, marketing and sales is the biggest chunk of the business in this phase of the business.
Yeah. Just bought it.
Boom. I would love to hear what you think next week.
You think I'm going to listen to it in a week? Well, I probably will. We're heading down to my in-laws.
Well, at 2x speed, it only takes a few hours to get through it.
Yeah.
And realistically, stage one, if you just listen to the stage one chapters, that's where all the fun is.
Yeah.
What is it for you, John?
I don't know, actually. I don't have a good answer for this. I don't know if there is, I can't think of the one thing.
Is there one answer for Bulldog and one answer for Simple Programmer?
I don't really have an answer for either of them, to be honest. I think for Simple Programmer, it would be to create a flagship course, because if I focus on that, and then I've got a team that can market and launch that and put together the funnels for that. I don't need to really create funnels and all of that stuff anymore. For Bulldog, I'm not exactly sure, right? Things are clipping along and growing really fast. right now I'm at 412 members for the membership. So there's not much that needs to be like, if I just stay the course, I'll do well. Like, I mean, I could say something like, I could implement a higher tiered membership, or implement higher tiered membership programs. I guess maybe that's the answer, is for me to like implement the higher tiered membership programs, the $100 a month, the $1,000 a month.
Okay, but I guess because I want to push on these a little bit. So on the master course or the flagship product, what's keeping you from doing that?
Just time constraints right now, because of all the other things that I have that are critical, that are on the plate for mostly Bulldog Mindset stuff. So
yeah. And then for the Bulldog Mindset levels, what are the other things that you're not thinking of right off the bat that you're going to have to do once you put that into place? Because it's not as simple as just saying, okay, now you can buy it at these different tiers. You're going to have to implement some other stuff on the back end. You're going to have to implement some stuff in marketing and emails and things like that. So yeah, what's a time frame for that?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably like releasing one tier is like the $100 tier is probably Q1 of 2020, and then the mastermind like $1,000 tier is probably Q2. So
yeah, is that something you can do? Is that something you should do?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the vision for it. I already did a poll. Actually, Manny, you'll like this. So I did a poll in the membership, and I asked essentially if people would be interested in the where is it?
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So I'm trying to find the actual poll results here. So yeah. Okay. So I asked, I want to get hey Bulldogs, I want to get your opinion on something. If I offered a higher level membership focused on starting a business or growing your business and wealth, would you be interested in joining the upgraded membership? It wouldn't detract from here, but it would be additional content and business focused videos, Q&As, etc. that not everyone in this group is interested in. Cost would be $100 a month, and you get everything you get here plus what I mentioned above. Haven't figured out exactly how it would be structured. Obviously, this is not for everyone, but I'm trying to get an idea of how many of you are interested. And I offered 3 answers. No, I'm not interested. Maybe, not sure. Or yes, I would absolutely upgrade to $100 a month business tier. I want this. So I got, for 31, no, I'm not interested. 30, maybe, not sures. And looks like 15, yes, I would absolutely upgrade.
Boom.
Yeah. So it's pretty clear. That's over 10% of the respondents. And that's what this would be designed to be, is about 10%.
Yeah. And if you get those 10%, like if 100 people are paying $3,000 a month, those 10 people are paying $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's an instant upgrade. Instant. At some point, as you raise the prices, it might go even higher. But yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of views on that idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure of the one specific thing. Like I said, that like it's not necessarily just making YouTube videos. It's not, for me, it's a lot. It's continuing to do what I'm doing to grow the audience, which is, I suppose maybe it's making the content, but it's not like one thing. It's not like just it's like making the content, giving the direction to my staff to continue to launch the initiatives and coming up with the new vision. Like more of my job, I suppose, that's beneficial now because I have a team in place, is the visionary coming up with the things that they need to do. That's the most effective use of my time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still going to have to do the YouTube videos. That's just the way it goes, right? That's just the way business is set up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a fairly small. Okay.
It sounds like the focus for Manny and I has more to do with the top of the funnel, where yours is a little bit murkier because you've already got people in and you're trying to figure out what the next step is.
Yeah.
Because the top of the funnel is easy to see. How do I get more people in? And so for Manny, it's, oh, well, if I do more book summaries, then I appeal to more people. And it also hits the middle of his funnel because his existing customers may want it too. And so it's kind of a no-brainer there. It's expanding his offering. For me, it's, reaching out to more people and getting more people on board. And that's all top of the funnel, all the way into getting them to pay. But for you, it's how do I get more money from the people whose attention I already have?
Yeah. To a large degree.
I mean, both sides of that equation will still work for John too, in the sense if all he did was nothing else but grow the Bulldog Mindset to 2,000 members or Bulldog membership of 2,000 members, that would still be a huge, you could still say, and you could still argue that everything else would be a distraction compared to just growing this damn thing to 2,000 members next year, putting all the effort on growing the YouTube channel. Basically, that's where I believe, even though we don't have exact data, most of his audience comes from YouTube to the email funnel to the sales. So if all...
Yeah. And he could create a process to push some of those videos to LinkedIn or TikTok. But only if it's minimal and it's not a big distraction.
Well, yeah. And I mean, if everything in his business was all about growing the damn YouTube channel and going from, I don't know, 30 new emails per day to 100 new emails per day or 200 new emails per day from the YouTube funnel, I think that still has the same leverage.
Yeah.
Just going hardcore on that one thing.
Yeah. I think the way I look at it is that right now, I mean, that's why it's like kind of, there's dual things. Right now, the sales, like the lifetime value of the customer is not optimized because I only have one tier, right? I need to have, so the higher focus right now is building out the structure that will be the permanent. Like, I don't need to continually do this, but once I have the $30, the $100, the $1,000, the $2,500 tier, then there's no need for developing that further. That's now all the focus.
You can go back to, again, doing the front of the funnel, the top of the funnel.
Exactly, because then I'm maximizing the revenue per customer or per lead. So that's really the idea behind there. And then really, what I'd like to do with Simple Programmer is set up a very similar system where it's one simple thing that's being sold and a couple of different revenue maximizers on that and tiers that people can buy into, and then use the same exact strategy. Because the Bulldog Mindset strategy has worked better. I mean, I grew this business up way faster than Simple Programmer. I mean, by next year it'll be making more money than Simple Programmer. So that just the simplicity is the reason why. That's the key.
Well, you didn't start from zero on Bulldog Mindset either. There was some crossover from Simple Programmer.
For sure. Yeah. Not exactly from zero, but
you can't do apples to apples comparison, but still the revenue,
it was easy to sell because you only had one thing to sell.
Right. Yeah.
One thing to focus on, one thing to sell, one thing. It's like, I guess everything's boiling down to that simplistic.
Yeah, like one ring to rule them all.
Simplifying life in many ways, or simplifying business, which allows for more focus.
The way I look at it, like as far as like not starting from zero, is like for Simple Programmer, essentially when the YouTube channel was Simple Programmer, there was about 100,000 subscribers was when I cut over. And then since I've cut over, I've gained another 117,000 subscribers. So that's all kind of Bulldog growth for the most part. And so that traffic is pretty much new traffic that is leading into the company. So
makes sense.
I've been doing Bonjoros like crazy. I've done 227 Bonjoros in the last
nice
week.
How's that working out for you?
I don't know yet. I'm still waiting to see the results. I've got it set up so that I'm going to send 300 to new subscribers to the email list. Like I'm A/B testing it, so half of them get the. So I've been doing about 20 a day or so of the new subscribers that come onto the email list. But I think I'm going to continue, regardless of this test, to send new members at Bonjoro because there's only like 2 or 3 new members a day that buy the actual membership. But I'm not sure if I'll continue to send new subscribers. It depends on the results, which I'll check them in about a month and see if there's a significant higher conversion of the people that got the Bonjoros and did not. So.
Yeah, I'm also curious, what the open rate is and watch rate is on those.
So I've got, for people that are members of Bulldog Mindset, I've sent 80 emails. 83% were opened.
And how many watched?
85% viewed. I think that's of the opened. I think that's how their stats work, right? 59% liked, 48% clicked, 36% replied.
Boom.
Nice.
And then for just new list subscribers, I sent 134. 40% were opened. 43% of those viewed, 35% liked, 61% clicked, and 7% replied.
It's pretty good. What are you asking them to reply with?
Nothing. I'm just my call to action on the Bulldog Mindset members is to join the Facebook group, and there's a link to join the Facebook group and start a thread on there to introduce yourself. For the new email list subscribers, my call to action is to click a link below that has the about page for Bulldog Mindset, and so I figured that's the best way to get them fired up. Exactly. Yeah. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Cool.
We have in the Bulldog membership, so funny, there is a husband and a wife and their son that is joined.
Wow.
That's insane.
Isn't that funny? It's weird. It's like, okay.
Which one gets to be the alpha dog?
I don't know.
What do you think?
All right. Any other major lessons before we wrap this up?
No, I think we hit the biggies.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Oh yeah, I have the lesson.
Okay.
Slow is fast and fast is slow.
Yeah.
Let me explain. What the challenge a lot of times is, we're constantly seeking a faster way to get to the end result.
Mm-hmm.
And that faster way to the shiny object, the new shiny things, or the new way to do something, usually it comes in the form of a distraction.
Right.
Right. Oh, you actually need a webinar funnel. Oh no, you need you need Facebook ads, or you need Instagram ads, or all of those things. And all of that comes at the cost of distracting you from what's already working, which you think is slow, because our human minds are not designed for nonlinear equations. We can't think non-linearly. So, when all we see is this much effort, this much result, we're thinking, oh, if I actually put effort in that area, I might just get 10 times more results because that's what everyone's saying is working. But the truth is, every new endeavor just takes as much time and effort to make it work. So every time you go for the fast results, every time you go for anything that promises fast results, even in whichever way, whether it's a marketing technique or whether it's a sales technique or whether it's a process technique or whatever it is, every time you tell yourself this is a faster way to do things and it goes away from what you know works, what is the slow, you'll always end up, or I have seen personally, like that always leads me to the slow results in the long term.
Right.
It never gives me the fast results that I had hoped for. I just end up wasting a whole bunch of time just realizing that shit, I just wasted all of this effort for nothing.
Yep.
Yep.
Slow is fast and fast is slow. So the key in some ways is to not obsess over massive results. Because as soon as we start obsessing over massive results, that's when we start creating this in our heads, like, oh, if I have to have these massive results, I must do something that's going to have some exponential benefit. And that means I must do some crazy new effort to get that exponential, like run ads on a new platform to get that exponential leverage.
Right.
Because we think that's where the money is, or the growth is, or whatever it is. But if the goals are small but achievable but very specific, and like, okay, if I just do this for a long period of time, I trust I can make it work, compared to, let me try this, let me try that, let me try this, let me try that. And I don't know which one will work, but I'll keep trying. And I'll keep trying to find leverage. So.
Yeah, it's interesting you're talking about, trying the new thing to get that exponential growth. And we've already kind of discussed it, but it's the consistency, right? It's, you get a little bit of lift and then a little more lift and then a little more lift, the more you're consistent over time. And so it's a time-based thing to get the exponential growth, not a new tactic-based thing. And there may be some new tactic out there that will get you a bump in the short term, but eventually it'll even out, and it's going to be the consistency over time that's going to get you the long-term results and the big results.
Yeah, exactly. The exponential growth will only come as a result of time you put in, not a result of fancy, schmancy new things.
Yeah, it's the quality of your work over time. And so it's just...
And time in that specific domain. Like, it cannot be time in business in general.
Right.
But time, like if I am dedicating myself to YouTube and suddenly I say, okay, since I have dedicated myself to YouTube, now I'll get exponential results in podcasting, not going to happen, right? Or exponential results in blogging, that's not going to happen either. Or exponential results in Instagram. Yeah, maybe all of these are smaller upticks compared to just in this one thing, I'll just dominate the damn thing. I'll crush it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think that's it then. There's really no point doing thoughts since we did our...
It was all thoughts.
Yeah. But all right.
It's like when we do the all picks episodes on any of our shows, right? It's like, well, we're not doing picks because we've already done a ton of picks.
Yeah. All right. Onward to 2020.
Heck yeah.
All right.
Crush it.
All right. See you guys next week, next year, next decade.
Yep. Bye.